New Liberty, the first rays of dawn, heralded a future filled with hope. Amid the towering skyscrapers, the resounding voices of the crowd stood as symbols of diversity and cultural richness. Yet behind this dazzling display of colors, the city concealed deep wounds and ruthless prejudices. At the very heart of this intricate tapestry stood a renowned figure named Marcus Blake, a celebrity whose influence had left an indelible mark on all of America. From a young age, Marcus had distinguished himself with his talent and hard work, eventually earning international acclaim as both an actor and a singer. But despite his tremendous success, he could never escape the shadow of racism. No matter how high he soared, the cold reality of prejudice dogged his every step. Marcus was not merely a performer. He had become a beacon of hope for countless minority communities, a living symbol of resistance against injustice. One autumn evening, Marcus was invited to the premiere of his latest documentary, in New Liberty. The film, a poignant exploration of social injustice, racism, and the rebuilding of hope, had attracted a crowd of dignitaries, journalists, activists, and art enthusiasts. However, as the night unfolded, dark forces began to conspire to disrupt the celebration. Just outside the gala venue, a police car idled in the parking lot. While many in the department dutifully patrolled the streets to maintain order amid rising violence, some officers misused their power for personal gain, driven by prejudice. Among them was Officer John Carter, a man whose upbringing had steeped him in so-called traditional values. Over time, these values had warped into a dangerous bias, and he had come to represent a system where racism was, if not accepted, at least tolerated. As the gala progressed and preparations were made for Marcus to take the stage, a small group of irate individuals gathered outside, hurling racist taunts and igniting tension. Seizing the moment, John Carter decided to intervene, citing the need to maintain order. His intervention, however, was so harsh and uncalled for that it only fanned the flames of anger and prejudice. Guests attempting to enter the venue were met by Carter's steely glare. Stepping out of his patrol car, he bellowed, "No one is going to disrupt our order here." Some guests recoiled at his harsh tone, while others exchanged uneasy glances. Backstage, Marcus could feel the tension in the air. Deep in his heart, he relived the pain of being targeted by racism, a pain all too familiar for an artist who dared to stand for truth and equality. Soon enough, Marcus took the stage. His face, marked by both determination and sorrow, revealed a story of resilience. Gripping the microphone, he spoke in a soft yet commanding voice. "Dear friends, tonight we are not just celebrating art. We are uniting in the fight for justice and equality. We come from many different backgrounds, and it is our diversity that enriches us. No amount of success can heal the wounds inflicted by racial prejudice. Tonight, we gather to transform this hall into a beacon of hope." Applause erupted among the audience. Yet outside, chaos intensified as John Carter and his like-minded colleagues, perceiving Marcus's words as a threat, denounced his message as nothing more than provocation. Carter sneered, "Artists lie. They distort the truth." After the gala, New Liberty split into two distinct worlds. On one side, Marcus's supporters and advocates of justice rallied behind him, while on the other, a faction clung desperately to old ways and resisted change. In this polarized atmosphere, Officer Carter began abusing his power on the streets, randomly stopping young people solely on the basis of their race, subjecting them to verbal abuse and unwarranted detentions. One night, as Marcus was returning home, a sudden intervention by a police unit, led by John Carter, unfolded. The officers cornered him with the excuse, "What are you doing out here at this hour? You're disturbing the peace," as they closed in. Despite his fame, Marcus felt as vulnerable as any ordinary citizen, but he also mustered the courage to stand against this blatant injustice. "I am proud of who I am," Marcus declared, his voice trembling, yet resolute. Furious, John Carter advanced and struck Marcus on the shoulder, shouting, "Don't forget this. Your place is not on the streets, but on the stage." Those words, laced with cruelty, struck a chord deep within everyone present. In that moment, countless citizens of New Liberty realized once again just how deep and devastating racism could be. When Marcus later recounted the incident to the press, unable to hide the tears streaming down his face, their sorrow transformed into a powerful call for solidarity and reform. In the days that followed, social media and local news exploded with outrage. Activists, fellow celebrities, and ordinary citizens united to condemn the injustice Marcus had suffered. The rallying cry was clear. No matter how deep the wounds inflicted by racism, they can only be healed by standing together. Motivated by the public outcry, the New Liberty City Council took unprecedented steps. A series of town hall meetings were organized, drawing people from every corner of the city to voice their experiences and demand change. New oversight committees were established to monitor police conduct, and comprehensive training programs on cultural sensitivity and de-escalation were mandated for every officer. These measures signaled a genuine commitment to transforming an institution long plagued by discrimination. Within the police department, whispers of dissent grew. Even among those who had once blindly followed orders, a sense of moral conflict began to take root. Several younger officers, inspired by the outpouring of community support and Marcus's unwavering resolve, started questioning the old ways. They began to see that true strength lay not in the exercise of unchecked authority, but in compassion and accountability. Their voices, though soft at first, eventually swelled into a chorus, demanding justice and reform. Meanwhile, Officer John Carter found himself increasingly isolated. His superiors, under mounting public pressure, launched an internal investigation into his conduct. At home, Carter's personal life began to unravel. His family, disheartened by his actions, distanced themselves, and old friends questioned the man he had become. In the quiet moments of the night, as he sat alone in his modest apartment, he wrestled with a growing sense of regret and shame. Memories of a simpler time, when he believed in duty and honor without prejudice, haunted him. Could he, after all these years of bitterness and misuse of power, find a way back to the man he once was? As the investigation progressed, Carter was called upon to attend community hearings. Before a diverse panel of local leaders and citizens, he was forced to confront the human cost of his actions. The faces in the crowd, young people who had been unjustly harassed, families who had been torn apart by systemic bias, pierced through his hardened exterior. In that raw, unfiltered moment, the seeds of redemption were sown, even as the path to atonement remained steep and uncertain. For Marcus, the painful episode only strengthened his resolve to create lasting change. He channeled his personal suffering into activism, collaborating with grassroots organizations to launch a national campaign for racial justice. Public service announcements, community workshops, and educational programs emerged under the banner of Voices for Equality. Marcus believed that art had the power to inspire hearts and transform minds, and he tirelessly toured the country, sharing his story and encouraging open dialogues about race, prejudice, and the need for systemic reform. During one memorable event in a small Midwestern town, Marcus spoke directly to a group of young students. "When you face darkness," he told them, "remember that every star is born in the night. It is in our darkest moments that our brightest lights emerge. Stand together, speak out, and let your voices be the spark for change." His words resonated deeply, sparking a wave of community projects and school initiatives dedicated to fostering inclusivity and empathy. As months turned into a year, New Liberty slowly transformed. The once fractured city began healing as its citizens learned to embrace their differences. Public art installations depicting the city's turbulent past and its hopeful future sprouted on formerly desolate walls. Murals of unity and justice became symbols of a community that had chosen dialogue over division. In a symbolic ceremony held one crisp winter evening, Marcus was honored with a civic award for his contributions to social justice. The event, held in a newly renovated community center that once served as a reminder of the city's troubled past, was a testament to the power of resilience and redemption. Among the honorees was a reformed Officer Carter, who, having spent countless hours in reflection and community service, stood humbly on stage. His presence was not an endorsement of his past misdeeds, but a reminder that even those who stray far from the path of righteousness can begin the long journey toward redemption. In his brief address, Carter acknowledged his mistakes. "I was blinded by prejudice and the weight of tradition. But today, I stand before you, not as the man I once was, but as someone determined to learn, to change, and to serve justice with humility and respect." His words, met with cautious optimism, became a quiet symbol of transformation, a sign that change, while difficult, is always possible when hearts and minds are willing to evolve. The story of Marcus Blake, Officer John Carter, and the city of New Liberty became more than a chronicle of conflict. It evolved into a living parable for a nation grappling with its own divisions. Each protest, every heartfelt conversation, and each reform enacted contributed to a broader tapestry of change. The voices of the oppressed and the actions of the courageous interwove to form a narrative of hope and resilience. New Liberty's journey was far from over. With each passing day, the citizens, inspired by the trials of their past and the promise of a fairer future, continued to challenge the remnants of discrimination and build a society defined not by the shadows of its history, but by the brilliant light of collective unity. And in every corner of the city, from its bustling urban centers to its quiet suburban streets, the echo of Marcus's message and the sincere remorse of John Carter reminded everyone that the struggle for justice is a journey we all must undertake together. Though racism may inflict deep wounds upon individuals and communities alike, unity and collective action have the power to heal even the most grievous of hurts. Every human being is created equal, and it is our shared responsibility to ensure that justice prevails. The path to redemption may be long, but as long as we keep striving for change, the light will always triumph over darkness.